and they didn't put enough hours into this thing. And the victims of this thing, unfortunately, is HCMC and the shareholders. What's up, boys and girls? My name is Adam, and welcome back to Broke Man Finance. Today we are talking about HCMC and what in the world is going on with it. Is the case over? Is it not? The financials just got released. Are they doing better in business? How is that looking? We're going to talk about all of that today, so make sure you stick around to get the newness. And if you like getting common sense perspectives on penny stocks like HCMC, other popular ones, the stock market in general, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and hang out with us a little while longer. If you didn't hear, HCMC got some bad news the other day when the motion to dismiss filed by Philip Morris was granted. This, as you can imagine, sent HCMC shareholders into a tailspin. This case has been a massive potential catalyst for HCMC. We've all been talking about it for months now. I've got multiple videos on it. But this was a case that a lot of people, including myself, thought the little guy could actually take on a massive giant company like Philip Morris and win. And a judge was just like, nah. As you can imagine, this did not bode well for the already hurting share price. Afterwards, HCMC was given 14 days to file a motion to ask permission to file an amended complaint. The first complaint didn't provide enough evidence in detail to prove combustion in the IQOS. And if that makes absolutely no sense to you whatsoever, then I would suggest going back. I'll put some links in here, but go back and watch some of my earlier videos that kind of breaks that down in detail, and this whole thing will make much more sense. HCMC tried to get the deadline extended to give them more time to get the appropriate paperwork in, but it was denied. However, they were able to get in the paperwork with literal, from what I'm understanding, minutes to spare. They barely got it in there, but they did get it in there. Now, Philip Morris has the opportunity to respond, and if this thing will likely go to a jury at some point if we just keep going back and forth. From everything I'm reading and listening to online, this complaint has a lot more detail in it, and it has a lot more evidence in it, which is why they got dismissed in the first place, was because of the lack of. But I'm not sure why you wouldn't just do that in the first place. Why would you not think you needed to cross all your T's and dot all your I's? You're going up against Philip Morris. This is a company that is well suited. They are very accustomed to lawsuits. They have, and there's not many companies with the amount of experience in lawsuits like giant tobacco companies. So you got to think that just bringing your A game would be automatic. But I can't really put that on HCMC. I put that more on the attorneys. I feel like the attorneys dropped the ball on that, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But HCMC, for me, they lost me during the rights offering. I just didn't trust it. It felt very suspicious to me. It felt like they were trying to raise capital during a very precarious time during the trial, and I just didn't like the feel of it. And I have learned through experience, through trial and error, to start listening to my gut more. Same thing whenever the Workhorse CEO was just selling off share after share after share. It felt very suspicious at the time, and we were all waiting on that postal contract to come out. I mentioned that in a video that I thought it was very odd and I didn't like it, and I would sell Workhorse if I were you. I got eviscerated in the comments, and a few days later it comes out that that they were not getting the contract, and the share price sunk like an anchor. But I'm not trying to get off on a rant. I'm just saying that sometimes you got to trust your gut. But next thing you know, HCMC is going through a dismissal, and they just raised a bunch of capital by selling these discounted shares in the offering. You got to admit the timing is a little odd. Not throwing shade, just think about it without emotion and hope in your heart. Just look at it from an objective perspective. It's weird. HCMC, I believe, had a legitimate gripe with Philip Morris. I'm always rooting for the underdog. The amount of cash that could have been injected into this company could have made people a lot of money, and hopefully they could have bought back some of that float, HCMC, and the share price could have jumped up tremendously. That's what everybody was hoping for. But you got to admit, I think the attorneys here dropped the ball. I'm not saying, and everyone thought that this was a great law firm. I'm not saying it is. It's definitely legitimate. But you got to admit, from the first complaint to the next complaint, somebody didn't do enough homework here. Somebody didn't put in enough hours on detail. And I don't know why you wouldn't dot every I and cross every T taking on a monster like Philip Morris and their attorneys. But that's exactly what happened. I'm not blaming HCMC. I'm blaming the attorneys. They obviously did. I mean, it's provable that between the first complaint and the second. If you look at the lack of evidence in the first one compared to the second one, if you look at the lack of details in the first one compared to the second one, that's what I mean when I say that it's provable. It proves my point that the attorneys dropped the ball and they didn't put enough hours into this thing. And the victims of this thing, unfortunately, is HCMC and the shareholders. HCMC is still in the mix. We will see how this complaint goes with the new evidence and more detail. So we'll see what happens. But let's talk about something a little more positive. Let's look at the business side of HCMC right now because their financials was just released. HCMC did release some better news and announced its financial results for the 3-month period ending June 30th, 2021 and the year-to-date 6-month period ended June 30th, 2021. Here are the second quarter results and year-to-date highlights. So gross profit from operations increased by $90,000 for the 3-month period ending June 30th, amounting to $1.5 million compared to $1.4 million for the same period last year, a 7% increase. For the 6-month period ending June 30th, the gross profit amounted to $3 million versus $3.1 million for the same period, a decrease of $127,000. Net loss from operations for the 3 months period ending June 30th was approximately $685,000 compared to $795,000, an improvement of approximately $110,000 or 14% from the same period last year. For the 6-month period ending June 30th, the net loss from continuing operations amounted to $1.2 million versus $1.5 million, an improvement of approximately $242,000 or 17% from that same period last year. Now, if we jump down here to the EBITDA, if you don't know what EBITDA is, it's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Adjusted EBITDA for the 3-month period ending June 30th improved by approximately $136,000 or 20% compared to the same period last year. Adjusted EBITDA for the 6-month period ending June 30th improved by approximately $177,000 or 16% versus the same period last year. Jeffrey Holman, the chairman and CEO of Healthier Choices Management Corporation, HCMC, said, "We are both pleased and proud of our performance in the second quarter. Our team delivered gross profit growth as well as a noteworthy improvement in our adjusted EBITDA results for the quarter." Mr. Holman went on to comment, "Our strategic vision for our company remains clear. And with our strong cash position, we are excited at the prospect of utilizing a portion of the proceeds from our recent capital raise to implement our growth initiatives." Mr. Holman concluded, "The progress to date, including our solid second quarter results, give us continued belief in our direction. Importantly, we are committed to building a nimble and scalable business model to support long-term, sustainable growth for Healthier Choices Management Corporation." As you can see, the numbers are moving in a positive direction for HCMC. It's just a very small company, so the numbers aren't massive. However, if they can win the case, it'll inject a lot of money into this thing, and obviously it'll help growth tremendously. If the case goes away, if it gets completely dismissed, you're going to see a lot of shareholders go away. But if you are a believer in HCMC and you want to invest in just a small company and that you believe has some growth potential over the next few years, then by all means, keep buying shares at a discounted rate. However, for me, it's just a little too small of a company. I thought the lawsuit was a fun dynamic, and if they were to get that lawsuit, obviously the growth would be stupid. But if they don't, it's going to take them a long time to really grow into anything substantial, as far as what I believe. But let me know if you're sticking with HCMC in the comments below. Let me know what you think. As always, I hope HCMC and whatever stock you're into goes to the goddamn moon. I hope you all stay safe, and we will see you next time.